doing therapy, but refusing the healing. Welcome back to Life Be Lifing podcast. Take a breath with me for a second, because today's episode is heavy, but necessary. Today we're talking about being married to someone with unhealed trauma, not someone who denies their trauma, not someone who refuses therapy, but someone who goes to therapy, talks about therapy, yet does not accept the help. And if that sentence hit you in the chest, you're not alone. This episode is not about shaming. It's not about blaming mental health. It's about truth. It's about boundaries. And it's about what happens when love keeps bleeding while healing is avoided. What unhealed trauma looks like in marriage. Let's start here. Trauma doesn't magically disappear because someone is married, and it doesn't dissolve just because they sit in a therapist's office once a week. Unhealed trauma in marriage often shows up as explosive reactions over small things, emotional shutdowns, constant defensiveness, blame instead of accountability, apologies with no change. And one of the most painful parts? The partner with trauma often doesn't see themselves as the problem. They see everyone else as the trigger. You'll hear things like, "That's just how I am. You know my past. You're asking for too much. My therapist understands me." But understanding trauma is not the same as healing trauma. You can be in therapy and still be emotionally unavailable. When therapy becomes a performance, this part might sting. Some people use therapy as a shield, a checkbox, a performance. They go to sessions, but avoid the hard truths. They learn therapy language, but don't apply it at home. They say they're working on themselves, but nothing changes. Why? Because healing requires responsibility, and responsibility feels dangerous to unhealed trauma. For some people, trauma becomes an identity, a justification, a comfort zone. Chaos feels familiar. Healing feels like loss. And sometimes, therapy threatens the story they tell themselves. So instead of using therapy as a mirror, they use it as armor. The partner's experience. Let's talk about you for a moment. The partner who loves deeply, the one who tries to be patient, the one who keeps saying they're hurting. You may feel like you're walking on eggshells. Your feelings don't matter. You're constantly apologizing. You're blamed for reactions you didn't cause. You're becoming smaller to keep the peace. And that's the quiet damage. You start therapy to save the marriage and end up needing therapy to survive the marriage. You begin questioning your tone, your needs, your worth, not because you're wrong, but because you're trying to love someone who refuses to heal with you. Let's talk about empathy versus enabling. Here's a hard truth we don't say enough. Empathy without boundaries becomes self-betrayal. Trauma explains behavior, but it does not excuse harm. Loving someone does not mean accepting emotional abuse, excusing disrespect, absorbing pain that isn't yours, staying silent to keep them regulated. Boundaries are not abandonment. You can say, "I won't engage in conversations where I'm being attacked. I support your healing, but I won't accept being your emotional punching bag. I love you, and I also choose myself." You are not required to drown just because someone else refuses to swim. If you're listening and this feels personal, ask yourself, are they doing therapy or performing therapy? Do apologies come with changed behavior? Are you shrinking to keep the peace? Is your nervous system always on edge? What would healing look like if both partners participated honestly? And if you're the one with trauma listening today, this part is for you. Healing is not about blame, it's about courage. And the people who love you deserve the version of you that's doing the work, not just talking about it. Let me leave you with this. Trauma is real. Pain is real. Mental health matters. But love without accountability becomes a slow kind of harm. Healing is a choice, and no one is obligated to stay where healing is refused. If this episode spoke to you, sit with it. Journal it. Talk about it in therapy. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. You are not too much. You are not asking for too much. And you are allowed to choose peace, even if it makes others uncomfortable. Until next time, take care of your heart.